And we will bring the meeting to order at 6:01. And our first order is to review the meeting minutes from December. Does anybody have any comments or anything they want to change or adjust?
Not to die. I motion to accept the meeting minutes of December 19th, trustee meeting as is.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, that brings us right to our Friends update.
Okay, well, the friends have not met since the end of November, but we do have upcoming centennial class. There will be something floral later in the spring, and I believe another arts and crafts type of thing, possibly a historical reenactor of some type. Fundraising is also on the agenda, so we'll update you as things come up. There's also rumor of a new friend joining the group, so
Wow.
stay tuned.
This month.
I hope so. She's incoming. We shall see. Well, all things are moving in the right direction with the friends.
How do people find the Friends?
Usually they go to an event and they get strong-armed. I mean, persuaded nicely. If you enjoy what we're doing, it's really not that much of a commitment.
We should actually have a couple people at the DIY thing that was expressing interest.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was one of those people, but there were a couple of women there that were expressing.
I think this person was at a meeting, like an artsy thing, painting or something.
Yeah.
Colors, with Lisa. Or the 4th in November, either one.
Mhm.
But, and she's relatively new to town and,
Oh,
you know,
good.
and was looking again. So it sounds promising, yeah.
So if we're there, we're right on to the director's report. Andrew's up.
So things are very busy. It's busy in the town, busy here, it's busy everywhere. But I'll just sort of, like I said, I'll touch on the high points of the report. Staff. So biweekly payroll has begun. They're still using paper copies, but I think it's my understanding it's supposed to be online within a month or so. It's just going to take a little bit, and at that point, everybody puts their time in, and then I cross-check it. So some people like the fact that it's a biweekly, but a lot of people don't like the fact that
It's an adjustment.
it's an adjustment.
Yeah, especially when you're part-time
Yeah.
and not that very many hours.
Mhm.
We had our holiday party a little later than usual, but it was good. Had a Sam swap and next staff meeting, I initially said on here the 18th of February, but the more I talk to people, it looks like probably March 4th will be our next meeting. And then what I'd like to do is try to meet, like typically I try to do, every other month. That didn't happen so much in the fall, just conflicts. But I'm hoping then we'll meet again in May. All the January shifts are covered. I'll be away on Friday the 14th. My shift is covered, so we're good there. Having looked at the staff's salary expenditures through the first 28 weeks, and then sort of calculating and doubling it essentially for the year, it looks like we could sustain an 8 to 10 hour week position for the year, but we could start it within the next month or so. Part of it is I had one staff person who cannot do the 3 hours on the Tuesday now. So if I take those 3 hours, the 4 hours that were created within the last budget, and then I think there's some room there. We could go, like I said, somewhere between 8 and 10 hours. I'd be safe with 8, 10 I'd have to look at it. But I think that that's probably what we're going to do. And because the seniors only have limited hours to give, and we need somebody on the Tuesday, certainly. I also would really like to have somebody to spell on Saturdays, the 2 techs who come in on Saturday, and have that person do 2 Saturdays in a row to spell. Who knows, perhaps a third. So the the hours are there. It's just a matter of figuring out exactly how to maximize. Let's see, facilities. So I did talk to Justin Harshaw. He said that typically late April is about the earliest that they'll start on something like that because of the thaw. In the spring, I asked about earlier, and then I talked to Tara too, and Tara said that that's pretty typical. If everybody doesn't know, Tara's brother is in asphalting. Okay. So I said, if you can get us as close to your start of the year, whether that's late April or the first couple of weeks of May, then that would be good. So he said he would certainly attempt to do that. So I said, the later you go into May, it gets to be more problematic for us because we have summer and you're butting up against programs and those sorts of things that we want to make sure that everything is set by that time. Rather than them doing a week of asphalting around it. So I did hear back from Kara Keefe, who is the earmarks coordinator at the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. She stated to me that the entire amount of our state earmarks should be spent as of June 30th and that they will need an invoice and proof of payment by that date. I don't know if that necessarily means that the job couldn't continue after that point.
100%.
Right. And I also spoke with Jeremy, the town administrator, and he then got in touch with the town accountant because he wanted to get their take on it because they've dealt with earmarks before. And so then I sent them the paperwork that I submitted to the state, which included the, they sent me a contract, so I signed the contract, I sent that back. Of course, they never sent me a contract with their signature. And then there's authorized signatory form, there's a couple other forms. I also had to do a form that discussed the scope of the project. So I sent all of that to the town accountant too, just so they could make a determination themselves. But my take would be that there's probably flexibility. We just don't get a week on that. We're certainly going to give somebody 6 to 7 months to do something that you're supposed to have a full year to do.
Well, I mean, in reality, it's what, 4 months? By the
Yeah,
time we actually get it,
right.
June 30th, I mean,
Well,
that's.
and like I said, the one good thing is it does not have to go out to bid. Doesn't have to go out to bid, so we can actually solicit architects that we have, contact numbers and that for already. If you remember, Amy gave me like a list of 5 that we can get in touch with. So that's good because the bid process would take a good month, maybe month and a half in order to. So let's see. But like I said, even soliciting the forms, the firms themselves takes some time. So you're right, it's probably like 5 months. So, and that's something we'll talk about. Working because time is of the essence now.
Right.
Let's see. All the light issues upstairs are addressed. Children's periodicals. There's light everywhere. Great. None of them are up. Which is nice. Now we're just dealing with a strange smell upstairs. I'm going to go into that because I don't know what it is. I spent today dealing with it. Dispensing with things that maybe were the origin of the smell without exactly knowing. I won't go into any more detail because, but, there are kids here, families that come in.
Stuff happens.
Sometimes things don't get cleaned up in the way they need to be cleaned up. So.
Thank you for dealing with stuff.
Do we need to consider maybe getting someone to clean the carpet?
Oh, I've had carpet cleaners in, but it wouldn't hurt to bring them back in.
Because that may be a source of
Yeah.
an odor, potentially.
Yeah, actually, I have them in, let me think here. In the earlier in the fall, so easily, like if I had just had them in, I'd be like, at the same time, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad idea.
Couldn't hurt.
It should be done at least twice a year, if not
Right.
more frequently.
Yeah,
And I don't know how.
usually it's
expensive it
about
is,
twice a year we do it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we couldn't. Then and then a little bit.
You know, when in need.
Yes. Yeah, the fire alarm, there's no issues anymore, all systems normal there. Monitoring company's line was the issue. That wasn't our problem, but we just had to continually activate it in the morning when we were coming in for about a week. And it's not like it calls the fire department, the fire department comes over. Anyway, budget. So, 14,395 was spent in December, most of that in salaries, only 1,800 in operations, seems very low, and it is. But some of the funds were funds that came back to us for ARPA funds that were used for our Otis elevator contract, which was, I believe, 3,600. They had ARPA money to use, so that money came back to us in building maintenance. And then in going through the month's expenses, I did notice that one expense was credited to the wrong line, and it wasn't our line in our budget. So I contacted them, and they're gonna change that, and that would have been another $800-900. We spent about 44% of the budget through the first half of the year, so we're running a little behind. Last year, we had spent close to 45% of the budget, so pretty close to last year. I'll go through some other budget info when we get to that section, when we get to that report. Programs, story time's good, as always, very busy. The December events, like the Santa story time and the cookies with Santa, both had over close to 80 participants.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, I think we were close to that last year too. So yeah, those went really well. I mean, even some of the, like I said, some of the folks that we bring in, like Meredith Bellhausen, she had 23 and kidding around yoga.
Well, that's a good number for yoga.
Yeah, it is. And Jeb Hudgens, who does music and movement, and for the longest time, she did 10 to 15 people like this. Last time, 49 kids, 49 participants. So those went well. Some of the adult events, like this party brought in 20 some people, and Diane Edgecombe brought in 16. All the numbers are there. The holiday gift event we put in as well because I think, I don't know if I talked to you or if I talked to Katrina, she said there were about 30 or so.
Yeah.
That was really nice, really successful. So good stuff all around. A couple things coming up in January. We had to move the Greg Wire event because it was almost too soon after the new year. We just didn't have a lot of participants. He was supposed to be in on the 7th, and he's going to be here next week, Tuesday the 21st. Let's see. Tara starts a new play group on Mondays, January 27th. All sensational toddlers. Yes, and then Michael Tugas is going to be here on Wednesday, January 29th. That's filling up. He's going to be doing a presentation on King Philip's War. He's authored a fiction book and a nonfiction book on both. This year, if anybody's interested, it's the 350th anniversary of King Philip's War. So that's part of the reason. He said, "Hey, I can come over and do this." Because I think he's done that presentation for us, but it was like 20 years ago. So that should be good. And like I said, the signups are very good to this point for that. Projects. So finally, we're starting to get to more of the library of things items. There's board games that people donate, lots of them, and so we're making our way through those. And I've got Jen and Autumn upstairs on Wednesday nights, and so they're going to be doing library of things processing as well. They're the Get It Done team, which is nice. And, it'll be good. The one thing that we have to do is do some publicity for those things. Like I said, we have some things that are already processed, but we have to highlight. So, then we are. But I'm encouraged, that we're getting to those things. It's always seemed to be the kind of thing where we have a lot of books to process, and a lot of audio to process, and just don't get to that stuff.
I don't know how we would do it, but it might be nice if you had photos
Yes,
of everything.
we're gonna do, we're gonna laminate, we're gonna have like a binder of them.
Yeah, but also if we could somehow get the photos somehow on, like in a link on the website,
Right,
so that people,
you know, they do that at
you know, even if they
Blackstone.
couldn't,
Yeah.
even if they couldn't order it through that same link, or maybe they can, I don't know,
Right.
but like, at least they can see what's available
Yes, yeah. I
electronically.
think Blackstone did that, I don't think they had like links necessarily, but they did have the photos. I'll take a look at this.
No, but I mean like a link that said, check out our library. of
Yes,
books."
yes.
Then all,
I can actually, yeah, like scroll through and see all the images.
and then tell them, you know, call us or whatever.
Right, yeah, exactly, and then says how long you have them out.
Right.
That sort of thing.
But I think that's super
I
important to have them on
know,
the website.
visually, we
Yeah.
need that sort
Yeah, but the binder is fantastic
of-
too,
Yeah, yeah.
to have in-house.
I always thought it would be nice if we had like just, you don't have a board to post on, you know, and would be like visually display them as people come in. So if anybody has any bright ideas about that, let me know, because that would be kind of neat as well.
So like, like almost like a bulletin board that would.
Yeah,
just
it does.
for that.
Yeah, kind of, I mean, at least initially when they're available, to get them in front of people. Because that's the big thing.
All right.
Could you create something that you put on there that scrolls through them?
I've been talking about trying to do some sort of continuing on the loop and, you know, PowerPoint or whatever on there.
Postcard rack, so like, that people could like flip through.
And each item's on like on an
Yeah.
index card or postcard in that rack. It's not a bad idea too.
And that doesn't take up a lot of space.
Right.
Oh, yeah, like a,
Narrow one.
Yeah, that people could like,
Right, yeah.
like, yeah, instead, I mean, I guess the binder, like one person could like flip through, but like a postcard rack, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I suppose.
You
they
just have
could-
to size them, you just size them down.
Yeah, you size them to like postcards or whatever, and you know, if you got one that like spans,
Actually,
you know.
yeah, like, people could bring it to like check it out, like
Right.
this is what I. want.
Yes.
With like a.
I know like one library uses DVD cases.
And then-
you're supposed to insert on the front. And then
It's not a bad idea too.
that way.
yeah.
So
And then
it's-
there's a picture in the back too saying like,
Right,
already reserved or something. You know what I mean? So that somebody, if they could see that we still have it,
right.
but someone else already has it out.
That's enough, yeah. Now, what we do with the games is we have like a flip box. you know,
Yeah.
And then when somebody takes a game, we put it in their box behind the desk,
Hmm.
so that it's not available.
Right.
You can just.
You could do it that way as well, but yeah.
While they have it out, but. Sorry, just right. Thanks. All right, let's see, weeding picture books, actually, that's pretty much done. Next is easy readers and chapter books. We've got, wow, a real glut of puzzles. Everybody wants puzzles to take home. Take some, because there's a lot of them there.
would say
we
call
just need
Diane
to-
Duncan.
Yeah, we just need to, they need to be weeded again, and, doing that, I think probably. Town news, FY 26 budget requests are due in to the town administrator by Wednesday, January 22nd. For all staff across the board, unions negotiated a 3% COLA, so that is what I'll be using for, just for crunching the numbers for salaries. I don't, once we do the salaries, it means, I've said this before, but we'll have to adjust the books line, because the books line has to be maintained at 19% of the budget. So that will change. I don't know if anybody has strong feelings one way or the other in terms of the budget as far as anything that we should ask for. I feel at this point, If I were to do anything, I might move 1,000 or 2,000 out of one or two lines and move it to programming. But I don't necessarily feel like, I think we can basically level fund the budget for the year. I don't know if anybody has thoughts though.
You don't want to try to get or increase the hours? Or are you gonna be able to do that with the extra person?
See, this is the issue. It's one person. My issue is the staff that we currently have, I don't have the flexibility, but they don't have the flexibility to do the hours that we would like to do. I'm not sure what the answer is to that. I mean, we can talk about that, certainly. Would I like to increase the hours? Sure. I mean, I'd like to go till 8 PM on a couple of nights. I'd like to have us be open on a Monday, but I've got 3 or 4 people who are doing 3 or 4 jobs. You know, or 2 or 3 jobs, I should say.
So is it a matter of one more person that we could hire? So you're gonna hire one anyway.
Yeah.
If we were hiring one more, could we
Right.
find 2 people that would be able to do the hours that you want? Or rotate it around in order to be able to do the hours you want so that we're open on Monday.
Well, I mean, I think that's up for discussion.
I guess I'm just surprised because we've been pushing for more hours
Yeah.
for years and all of a sudden we're not gonna this year.
Well, we can, I can add in another like 8 to 10 hour position. Probably it should be like a 10 hour.
I mean, do those times, do they support the programming? Programming is where we get the most of our traffic, right?
Yeah.
So if we're gonna go and ask for it, is it gonna support the traffic? Or, you know what I mean, that programming, or is it just for hours? I feel like the 8
Yeah.
o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays would support programming, because we do have several programs that happen on those
I mean,
evenings.
if we're gonna do till 8, I have to be able to shift the people that I currently have
Mhm.
to 8.
Mhm.
And in some cases, that's not possible. Or I shouldn't even say not possible, but.
But should we?
I mean,
Should we be determining the library's hours based on the staff?
No,
Should we be determining the library hours based on what we've been?
no, but I mean, I also have to,
I agree,
yeah,
I agree, but you do, if we're hiring one, we potentially have another,
Yeah.
it gives you more wiggle room in order to find people that can do
yeah,
the
absolutely.
hours that you need.
Yeah.
Because we should be open for the hours we need to service the public
Right.
versus opening for hours to accommodate our staff.
What I'd like to do, frankly, what I'd like to do is I would like us to be open. Thursday until. If we're gonna open on Monday, I'd like us to be open at 10, because it reflects the other days of the week outside of. It doesn't reflect every day of the week, it's Thursdays. I don't like our schedule, frankly. Never like our schedule.
So
I'm not a fan.
does it make sense to look at that?
Yeah.
Is there a reason we're at that schedule? Why are, if we don't
Yeah.
like it, it's not working for us?
Right.
What can we do to make it
Yeah, if we
better?
give an additional position. It's, yeah, then I just need to figure out. How are we going to, because what I want is, I would like us to be able to be open. If we're gonna be open on a Monday, I don't want us to be open like 3 hours, like on a weekend. I'd like us to be open at least 5 or 6. I'd like us to be like 10.
And that supports the programming we already have running on Mondays, correct?
Yeah, although I mean, yeah, so there's, she's got a play group on Mondays.
And the test we did supported when we had programming on Mondays, people showed up.
When there were programs, outside of that, like when we did the open Mondays, it was a little, it's when I keep coming.
But I think part of that is people getting used to it being open on a Monday. If so many people are used to you not being open, they don't even check. They might not have been privy to the email blast, Facebook or whatever.
Right.
So maybe like if we were open on a regular basis, people would start to realize that and
Right. I think we could look at another position.
How much is one position for the year? How much are we asking? We're asking for 8 to 10 hours for the year. Not to put you on the spot.
No, I want to say 13, 14.
Is that an unreasonable request?
I don't know yet, because I don't, I mean. if
You don't know.
we're- but-
It could be like 10 to.
Always are. Yep,
So,
right, yep.
but it is, I think it's still, if you have a need, you should ask. And I mean, as you saw, like, it's not always the first year that it goes through, so like, if you have a plan, even if the budget won't accommodate it this year, maybe you'll be in a better position next year. But maybe they're, like, I don't know, I haven't seen,
Right.
you know, the numbers have not come in yet, so, yeah, so.
Well, I'm right there with her, because my brain was even going to, let's put in a line item for $5,000 to do the railing and some type of stuff on the concrete slab over there.
Mhm.
Because we know that's a project that's gonna fall to us anyway. So why don't we be forward about it and say, hey, all right, for this budget cycle, we wanna fix that. So let's put. Sure, building maintenance, part, project and upkeeps, whatever, whatever section it wants to be in. But it also gives us lobbying. And, we can say, hey, we want a person and we got a project. We know that there's gonna be other projects too, and some of that's gonna be capital projects. Cool. But getting that person is gonna be more important.
We can give one.
We can have flexibility then.
Yeah.
So instead of it, all of a sudden, the town says, wow, we're asking for $20,000. How about 13 instead of 20?
Right,
What I would like to do,
And like
Yeah.
to negotiate.
it's a strategy, absolutely, going, knowing that you're gonna negotiate down and already kind of anticipating where you're willing to wiggle.
Right.
what I can do, this was something that was talked about just in terms of until 8 p.m. I don't say that that's not possible. I have to talk to the staff again and say that this is something we're very seriously considering. Frankly, whether or not you want to do till 8 p.m. is, that's, and if it's a matter of you coming in an hour later and you want to do that, well, then I'll just fill in with visuals before that.
Well, it could be you split the difference, so the person before them is a half hour late and they come in, you know what I mean, and they split that kind of thing.
But to Lisa's point also, it's the staffing challenges are separate from budgetary requirements.
Right.
So if we say, hey, we want hours, this is what we want it to look like, so this, raw cost, here's what that's gonna be.
Right.
Cool. Then you and the staff and
Right.
smart hires have the challenge of kind of figuring out how can we get to that. Again, that's also not a light switch. Like if we get that budget and we're like, okay, maybe it's gonna take us a month to figure out how to wiggle things together.
Right,
That's okay.
yeah.
Right, we don't have to have someone ready to start the day the budget hits, right?
That's almost, it's not impossible, but it's,
Right.
so that's okay.
So, I mean, I can look into, if we're talking, well, two things on the table. I can look into an 8 to 10 hourly position. As well as what you're talking about,
Facility upgrades,
5,000.
safety concern. I mean, and 5,000 is a WAG. Sorry, it's an acronym that I probably shouldn't spell out in a public town meeting. It's a wild guess.
Yes.
There we go. But you figure it, even just 4x4s with railing going around, that's a fairly small area. $5,000 with installations is likely gonna get you pretty close.
Right.
For basic stuff. We're not asking for safety glass and plexiglass or
Right.
special metal railings or anything.
Right.
But then that gives us flexibility too.
And James will install it.
Hey, just say no.
I'm just kidding.
This
Just
is,
kidding.
I've relearned how to do plaster, drywall plaster, that's been my most recent relearning.
we should compare notes because I've had a fun year too.
Oh. But, yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, I agree.
It does not hurt to ask.
That's fine.
Let the town
That's
say
like
no.
saying no, right?
If we're gonna ask for the hours, right?
I agree with you, like.
We need to have a plan though, and a good,
Yeah,
and a solid pitch of why we want it and justification.
Right, we have to be able to present that.
Right.
Right.
So we, I think we should move forward with it, but we need to sit down and determine how we're going to justify that, or how we're going to pitch it, is not the right word, but you know what I mean?
The document he sent us is essentially just to, put in the figures, obviously, and then there's a section for, but it's not, there's not a lot
So-
to it in terms of being able to justify.
So I thought there were two forms, right, like one is for the level services.
Right,
And then the other is for additional requests that has more,
right, okay, yes.
where you would, put in your essay.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yes. All right,
I mean, it's just a
No.
thought, but
it's fine,
I'd hate to lose the opportunity.
right.
Right, especially when we've been asking for it for
Not gonna be an unprecedented ask.
I think
a
what
couple
was,
of years now.
yeah, I think what the problem for me was is that we can get this, like I said, with current salaries, we can get an additional position,
Mhm.
but it doesn't necessarily get us to what you're talking about.
Right,
And I agree with you. I think in order to do that, we need another person because it's two floors. In order to make that happen. So, yeah, that's fine. I mean, absolutely fine. Part of the reason for talking about this is,
right.
I need to know where we're at and where you all are at.
Does it, so, and this is just me thinking outside the box and blowing things up because that's what we do. Does it make sense to look at a full-time person? What's the cost difference if we were to take a position we have now
Mhm.
and make it a full-time position? Is that astronomically more
Yeah,
expensive?
because then you have to offer benefits.
What is
The benefits
that?
piece was always the issue.
But is there a benefit to the library to have you, Tara, and a potential third person as a
Yes.
full-time person?
Yes.
Is there significant benefit that could be justified or, you know what I mean, explained where that, so instead of asking for just another 10 hours or whatever, do we ask for one of the current, so to speak, staff or if current positions move from part-time to full-time? Does that have any more benefit in the long run to the operations than just asking for another part-time person?
So, yeah, I mean, you'll be asking for probably an additional 20 hours.
Could we,
And additional, I think it's like 20,000 benefits.
Yeah.
in addition to the
Yeah,
hours?
right.
Okay. And I'm just thinking out loud of, is there enough benefit to having another third full-time person on staff
Right.
that would justify that expense? And maybe it doesn't, and maybe that's not a this year thing, but it's just something to consider. Does that give you more wiggle room? Does that make the logistics of hours easier? Does that make some of the projects? Can you shift responsibilities? And you know what I mean? Does it make us run better?
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't. It's just worth considering.
Right. I love it, but I mean, like, we've never had, you never had two people before that were full-time.
I think of the fight we had to go through to even get
Right.
Tara as, the second person as full-time.
Person. I think we can accomplish the hours open with what was first suggested, which is to bring in another person at 8 to 10.
And I don't disagree. It was more just to,
No.
think it through. Does that make more sense than just continually bringing in part-time people? Does that alleviate some of the staffing challenges that you have with the hours potentially, or,
Is it difficult to find someone that only wants to work 8 to 10 hours? Like in an interview process? I mean, like, do you get a lot of applicants? Maybe you get a ton of.
Last time we did quite a few.
Okay, so you never know.
That was, say that was for 10 hours. Yeah. Most of the time it's been 10.
Yes, it may not make sense. It was just a sometimes it's a good exercise to go through.
I wonder about like long-term goals and like
Right.
sort of gradually increasing the hours each year. I mean, because I think it's a good point, like another full-time person would probably be good for the staff.
Yeah.
But like maybe, and right, getting more hours in the, in the budget for staff might make it like that, instead of a jump, maybe like increase it, every year or two, like.
So that
hours.
so if we get 10 hours this year, we get 10 hours next year, then we convert one. Instead of asking for more hours, then we
It's
convert
not a
one
big,
full
not
time.
a big.
That makes
I
sense.
mean, like, I don't, just to
Yep.
put it in that way that you're trying to like cover more hours for the library with the event
Right,
goal of having another full-time person,
right.
but not have it be the request for this year. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Transitioning one of the positions too.
And that could be one of the things you do. Instead of hiring another part-time person,
I mean, I
you
do-
give another couple of hours to
I do have thought. I mean,
people here. If there's someone who wants more.
transitioning. There's a few I can consider.
But are there
Yes,
other
there-
part-time people that would want just a couple of hours that it wouldn't push them over into full-time?
So we don't
Yeah.
hire another person.
Absolutely.
Instead of just saying 10
Because I
or
think we can
12
go
or
up to 19,
15.
go up to 19, so,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So that might be another avenue to explore. But I kind of like the idea of that could be part of our justification for the extra hours is that, at some point, we would like to make another third-time full-time position, but we're going to gradually
Get there.
get there.
So we're not having the big ask right up front.
I think
Strategy.
Yep. And sending,
Trying to make something.
I've been sending Andrew texts in Teams with a list of things. So
That's all right, I'll bring it up tomorrow morning.
Absolutely, but like, so, and Jeremy's talked about this on different occasions, but a basic cost benefit analysis.
Yes.
So that we can lay out, so what is the plan for 5 years? When we get there, it's gonna be year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we lay it out as, the goal in 3 years or 5 years is another full-time and half part-time, or whatever that number is. To get there, here's the incremental process. Because we want to meet the program requirements of these hour sets for the library.
Right.
So, okay, we're good. We'll call Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, so my take on all of this at this point is that we're looking at potentially that over there from the $5,000 range and then another 8 to 10 position. Which, like I said, will probably be in the neighborhood of 10 to 13, something. That's total ballpark. I have to look at it. Okay. Very good. No, this is why
Sorry to like.
I know, I didn't count down, it was too quickly.
Part of it is the conversations that I had in the past weren't necessarily conducive to some of this. I like that idea though.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's not like we haven't asked virtually every year. And so suddenly I don't ask. And then-
It makes the ask the year after that much harder.
Yes,
So you just keep asking.
I totally.
But I feel like we can refine what the justification,
Yes.
and I think that'll help. Every year, the last 2 years I've listened to it, I'm like, every year I come back and go, okay, we need to ask it. We need to,
Tweak.
phrase how,
Phrase.
rephrase how we're asking and why we're asking.
Let's see, with that in mind, Collins Center is doing a study now on classification and compensation. Received a survey, well, I went to a presentation on Tuesday. I think the Collins Center, I don't know, Elaine, if you remember, they might have done one of these studies 7, 8 years ago, maybe?
Oh,
I don't know if you remember.
I mean, it was before my time. It's
Yeah.
come up before,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know that it was as thorough
Right.
as this, but also, it's totally out of date at this
Yeah.
point. So that's I mean,
Yeah.
So, Tara received the survey, I had the survey, I sent it to the rest of the staff. And initially I thought, well, I can have one of the library techs fill out the survey. But frankly, there are a couple of techs that have different responsibilities than the others. I think it's just more important for everybody to just do the survey, say the
definitely.
things that they exactly do. And then I don't know how many of us will be interviewed. They could obviously interview one of the techs, but my feeling is there's at least enough of the library technicians who have different responsibilities and be valuable for them to sit down. And it's not a huge staff. So. In any event, the survey was sent out this week and is due back this next. There's a lot going on. Let's see. And then Jeremy did ask that each department head provide a written overview of their department to him by Friday, the end of the month. Basically, it's a state of the department write-up. Looking for like what our current challenges and opportunities are. What does your budget look like for the rest of FY25? What do you see as needs or budget needs going forward? 6. Some of the things we just talked about. And then he's going to share that synopsis of each department with the select board on February 5th. Let's see. I did meet with Jeremy last week. He was aware, and he didn't have a copy of my contract, so I did give him a copy of the contract for his records. I did give him a little bit of background on that whole process of the contract being between the trustees and and myself, as opposed to with the town. I don't know, did he reach out to you at all?
No, has not yet. I happened to see Ellen the other day.
Okay.
And she said that she had talked to him as well,
Okay,
so that he should be reaching out to us. I don't know who he will reach out to,
Okay.
but
yeah, because I said you may want to talk to Ellen because she was the chair of the trustees.
yeah, I believe I talked to Ellen the other day. It sounded like he did. So.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I said, I asked her, I don't know when you saw it, but I didn't at that point, but, just because she can give additional background.
Yeah, Tuesday, I think I dropped off my
Oh,
form.
that played out last. Let's see. Annual report is finished, submitted. If anybody wants a copy, yeah. If anybody wants a copy, let me know. I can certainly email you a copy. The only other thing I had, there's a couple of these they sent from MBLC. Their budget request for FY26 includes an additional $2 million in local aids for public libraries. It's also like a $300,000 increase to technology resource sharing. Their legislative agenda, they said this, and I was like, oh, this is it, But there is a QR code, which I think presents their whole legislative agenda. So if anybody wants a copy, I'm just going to. And that's the report. The budget report. As I said, we're about 44% spent through for the year. Let's see. Utilities fuel is still we're only at 14.4% spent through. I suspect the next 4 to 5 months will be different because it's gone up already in the last month. Supplies is lower than I would like at the moment. It's about 23%, 22%. Building maintenance, you'll see it says month expense. We received $1,880 from the ARPA funding for the Otis elevator contract. Books expenditures for the month, that's far too low, although I will say that last month, if you recall, we spent 13,000. Puts us all together, let's see, 46% of salaries has been spent for the year. 41% of operations, it puts us at 43.7%. This point, halfway through the year. And that's that. Any questions on the director's report or the budget report? And I will, I don't know if anybody, well, you're gonna get in touch with me. Yeah. Very-
I have one question.
Yes.
So just because I don't really understand the survey that they're doing or
Yes.
the process. So what is the survey? They're asking about each individual job and what they do and,
What I think they want to do is, tell me if I'm wrong, Elena, but they want to compare positions across departments. I assume that they're also looking at departments.
It's also other towns,
Yeah,
right,
exactly,
they're comparable towns, just to make sure that our
Size.
are,
Yeah, right,
are, I guess, competitive, comparable,
Exactly.
so, and this is part of the negotiating with the unions, is we said, like, we will do this so that we know that our wages are fair,
yeah.
and but fair across the board, so not just for one group or
Department,
another,
right.
so that's why it's all the town is.
How long is because how long is the process supposed to take?
I-
Yes, because my assumption would be, yeah.
Yeah, so.
My assumption would be if something like this changes and the hourly changes for various positions, it would be something that would be addressed next
Right, so, yeah, so this is, right,
FY20s.
right, so this will not be affecting the current budget
Right.
request, so yeah, it'll be.
That, I
The
guess
goal
that
was
was really my question.
So all of the union contracts were 2 years instead of 3 years, usually they're 3 years, and part of that agreement was like, okay, well, let's do 2 years, but we will make an effort to make sure that we actually have the information about what,
Right.
what the fair wages are for our town in this region. Because-
So once it's all finalized,
Yeah.
once it's all finalized, it's not like it's gonna be like, oh, employee A, you should really be getting X and you're only getting X. You're not making those changes in the middle of the.
No, it'll be, and it will probably be incremental.
Oh, right.
If there's a big change, right,
Okay.
typically. Yeah, and we really don't know because it's been so long. I mean, I guess 7 years ago, there was another comp class study.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was the same scope, I mean, but I guess it involved the library staff as well.
Yeah, although I'm trying to remember if there was a survey that was from my own staff at that point, or if I was approached and we talked about it. It's been so long, it's no. It's possible that there was a survey that was. It's because I know at that point, salaries did eventually, I think, the next cycle. Go up. Some, particularly for library technicians. Anyway.
One last question on the study. Do we know if it's also going to encompass, like actual job description and execution? So like say we have a couple different administrative roles doing the same thing. Like will there be recommendations of getting one full-time person to cover those things?
Sure about that, I'm not, yeah, so that'd be a Jeremy question, so yeah, so.
He's spearheading the.
This is our justification, depending upon how the report's presented, it comes back to you, for us to be able to use it for the next 5 years to say,
Right.
hey, from this is what it's saying,
Right.
and this is what the rest of the town is doing for these other types of positions. Should be in lockstep.
We don't know yet what we're gonna do for the other
Sure.
positions, right, so,
Right.
because some, right, I think there are positions being added to this study that have not been looked at before, like town clerk, for example, so there a lot of the requests come kind of individually or from one department, and this is a way of making sure that we're
fair and equitable,
That's good. That's great.
that's the goal, but it takes time and it's helpful to have the outside party so that there's, yeah, no bias. Yes, right. We all
My
have our-
thought was, I should probably share the job descriptions that we recently approved as well, just.
Absolutely. No reason not to.
So,
Right.
Could also be sort of see if what jobs are being executed and being listed out by our folks are actually what's being done also on the job description.
Right.
It's quite possible we could have areas where we were blind to it. They're doing stuff that we didn't realize.
Right.
Or they're not doing things that we think still should be doing.
Right, and I think that just in general, that there are responsibilities of certain staff that are typically maybe a little bit outside of what they would normally be doing, so that's. Which is why it is important to have everybody serve.
Absolutely.
Right, I agree, that's perfect.
See, outside the normal job description.
Exactly. Anyway, the other thing I want to mention just very quickly, Jeremy asked for a copy of our strategic plan, this PDF, which I think, just whatever. I don't know if they're working on for other departments or anything, or in any of them. We have the plan, it's nice.
It's nice to have it to share.
Yes.
I said,
Library.
I want to get it.
Role model.
All right, so that brings us to library policies, and I think the only one we have outstanding is the big one.
It is, yeah. So, again, like we talked about last time, as you go through it, whether it's paper or electronic, write minutes. Please, trust me, no one, anyone that's gonna get offended, I am always looking for ways to fix and make things better. So write all the edits that you can on there. I will compile all those. And this is gonna take a few months. You know, we recognize that this is not gonna be one that we're just gonna be able to shotgun out and knock out quickly.
Sure, and this is the safety, sorry, that, yes.
Emergency procedures. Yep. So, and whatever preference is easier. If you want to do it electronically, awesome. Please do that. And you can email them to me. If you want to do it on paper, pen, and I will collect them. You can email me and I can come find you and steal them and then update it so that we can have it. But yeah, it's a beast.
I don't know if you want, I mean, I can send you. Yeah, I just basically highlight.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
But I probably should still go in and actually do the actual change to some of this stuff.
Whatever's easiest for you.
Okay.
I had the fun opportunity during Hurricane Sandy to help coordinate the recovery part of New York City and New York State. When you think about the amount of folks who come together to try to help figure out, one, how to spend, $5 billion or something like that, and two, what recovery looks like for the long haul. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone wants their opinion presented first. So to be able to balance that and bring those together, I oddly enjoyed. So I'm very thankful now, though, that we get to do it here. Not with.
And a much smaller scale, even though it's still.
Right, so we're still working on that.
Yeah.
So then that brings us to the rectory group update, which I don't think there's a lot to talk about because we're meeting this afternoon, other than I did do a little research on whether we need to move out of a working group into a committee.
I put that in the right agenda.
And based on what I was looking at, I think we're probably at that point, because to be moved into a committee that has to be, on record and public meetings and all of that, you have to qualify as a public body, which typically means that the group was created by us and the library staff, right?
Yep.
It serves a public purpose. We have a specific charge as a group, there's a specific charge, and we now will be making recommendations to a public body. So based on those 4 criteria, we probably need to move into a committee sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I had that, they did put that, so, yeah, we can certainly talk about that, because I thought that that's what had to happen, but.
Just from what I was reading, obviously, I'm not an expert and an attorney would be the best person, but it's probably, we need to move in that direction.
It also, yeah, it matches up with my impression from like the meeting training that I had to do at some point.
Yes.
So, yes.
Well, and that's where I went right to, was the
Yeah.
open meeting law, and I.
Yeah,
looked
yeah, no,
directly
I
at
think-
that, so.
So,
So yeah, I think we're at that point. We were maybe at that point earlier, but.
One thing I should mention, because I spoke with Jeremy, and this is about the senior center. Because the senior center has hired Abacus, if I'm not mistaken, and they're looking at various properties, buildings around town. And one of the things they were doing was looking at the rectory next door here. And whether or not, well, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, no, this is.
So, because somebody asked, why not
Mhm.
next door? So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Yep.
I don't know a lot more than that. I know that they were gonna look at, the building that's, right, and then the property that's at the end of the block.
And I know we don't have time to wait for that, but it would be really interesting to see what their suggestions were for that building,
Right.
or that. Because if they choose not to move in that direction,
Yeah.
we might be able to piggyback on that information. Depending on what it is, and you know,
Cause I said, well, we're doing a feasibility study,
right,
and they wanna look at that. He said, well, is there a way you can have the firms talk to one another? I don't know.
Well, we don't have to go out to bid.
Right,
Abacus is already doing part of the work.
So Abacus is who did this one, right?
yes.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Yeah,
they
so-
did.
I was like,
My bad. I didn't catch the name.
That's the only reason why.
James is saying.
I mean, can we get more for money that way? Or
Maybe.
Are we then helping to support or pay more? I don't know. I don't know.
It's a great question.
You know.
And I didn't know it, and I said, well, okay,
Is there a way to utilize that space for both of us?
right.
I
I
mean,
think that's the question.
as a taxpayer, I don't necessarily mind that
I mean,
idea
you
if it
can-
works for
Right.
both groups. You know, and
Right.
I
I mean,
want to
there's
read
room
that.
out front of it, it's not like
Right.
it can't be expanded forward,
Mhm.
it's not like it can't be expanded upward.
But you have to also take into consideration parking.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it would all have to be part of the.
I think that's, and after time, that would one of them. Already been accommodating parking, especially if you decide to expand. So you have, that's not adequate for, that is for senior center. Clearly.
We should have
So,
bought that house next door when it was
oh.
a bad situation and we should have just made it a parking lot. But now we have a good neighbor.
Yeah, yeah, so, but I agree with you, like, if you wanted to expand, then where's the parking? Because you
Right.
have, already we have the challenges.
Can we go up?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you.
See the wheels turning. No, just go up in space, so like
Right, you could just go.
go more vertical. So the footprint doesn't expand too much. We use the front for parking,
Right.
Gotcha.
you know.
Which I think
um,
when I talked to the asphalters, I say, under 15.
I don't think they were
I
utilizing.
know,
that
I didn't,
space
feel- I
well.
felt like that was a little,
Seems too small. Maybe they were only using a little bit.
they might.
We keep, I mean,
I mean, based on them going over as far as the, not the sidewalk, but
close to it.
close to it, I would think you'd get one. Anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
So Lisa, when were you thinking to move the rectory working group to like a subcommittee? Like, were you, I mean,
I didn't necessarily have a time frame,
Okay.
just more of to present that it was something that,
Yeah.
probably needed to be done and we could probably decide as a group. And I mean, I don't know if you have suggestions on when to do that or if there's a right
Or
time
how
to
to
do
do
that. Yeah, right, thank you. How to do that.
Yeah, I mean, well, so like it would be the working group is meeting today, which there would not be time to post for that.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So,
We
right,
understand.
I would say,
It can't be tonight, yeah.
yeah, so it could be, starting it.
And what does that process look like? Does that mean we have to go to the select board and they appoint
You could
people?
have it be a subcommittee. And if it, as a subcommittee, I think you could even have, because it. I think. Well, let me think, the subcommittees, you're still not supposed to have a quorum, right? Is that like, of the,
No, you
Wait.
can, but it's not,
yeah, it's,
so we haven't had any subcommittees. We've never done.
right.
But you can. It's just,
Yeah.
you gotta, you just, you have to post meetings you're intending.
But then, yeah, I think, right, so it's probably still easier if it's not a quorum.
Cross post both meetings.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about. If there's a quorum, it's like effectively like a joint meeting of the committee. Yeah, so like it's probably still easier to have it be not a quorum,
Right.
but I think, I mean,
Since we have plenty of meetings where we have more than just the committee members
Yeah.
attending that subcommittee meeting. So we have effectively one for school committees for many of the subcommittees. But that's always been allowed. There's never been- So it's not- We haven't had to cross post both ways.
it might be a question for.
But you have to post a subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, of course.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Multi-board and stuff. Cross post.
Yeah, multi-quarters. So
Okay, but that's not within, yeah, that's.
we go meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's just a running box and when you're be in trouble together. Got it. Sorry. Actually, I just ended that last one. Sorry, you're getting all of these, my bad.
All right.
All right, so that brings us to the strategic plan.
Oh, yeah, so I went back, once again, reviewed through all the goals. Some things I'd like to focus on this year. I'd like us to, it was something we looked at early on, I'd like to connect with the senior center again, particularly to talk about, not just about partnerships and some programs that potentially we could do together, but outreach to the homebound. I think would be a good thing for us to look at this year. We do outreach to the schools, but outreach to seniors is not something that we've done a lot
Right.
with. So I think that is a good goal for the year.
I think it's great.
It lines up, I think, with the plan exactly, which years we're supposed to be looking at that. I'd also like to talk team programs, and I'll do that with the staff at the next meeting. I think we need to have more offerings that way. Outside, I mean, we have our book club, obviously, but I think there's some other things we can do. Look into that this year. The website and mobile presence, they're meeting about that now. They're starting to meet about that. Jeremy said he would rope me in when they're starting to talk about the look of it and that sort of thing. Dan texted me the other day to say, hey, did you know that there's a meeting going on? And I said, I did not. But it might still be one of the preliminary meetings that they're doing. So I have to get that figured out with Jeremy. Because clearly it's another thing that we need to really get hammered out, because the website is old and busy and we already know the challenges there. And it's not for mobile devices. It's just not mobile friendly. Need to do a hardware inventory. I think it's a great year to do it because, Windows 10 is ending, so we're gonna need to look at some hardware anyway. Jeremy did mention that. I don't know if have you mentioned that, the Taft hardware computers for the town or no?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know if anything. The only other thing that I'd written down a while back was, potentially working with DECA, do some marketing, or help with marketing. Because that's frankly a weakness of ours, the marketing piece. Like, we have this great stuff. But getting people to know about it or find out about it is another.
The other thing is, if your deck is great, but also talk to Tara Bennett about the ICPs. So we have a marketing and business career innovation pathway, or innovation career pathways, but that just came online. So over the next year or so, we may have students who are looking for internships and for opportunities to work in those fields. So there may be opportunities, there may be even students at the end of this year, juniors are given the opportunity to do a 2 or 3 week internship. There may be juniors who are looking for marketing or business type internships, and this might be a spot that they could come and you'd have them full time for several weeks. And we're going to do special projects and things like that. So I would reach out to her sooner rather than later. If you want somebody this year. So typically those internships for the juniors are in June, the first couple of weeks of June. So, and I know they're planning them now and they're trying to line those all up. They have about 40 students this year who are going to go out on internships for a couple. So now is the time. So if she has somebody who's looking for one. And if and it could be, you could keep in the running for future years too, because I'm sure next year she'll have more than 40 kids who are going out on internships. So.
Is it something
It is
that
a great
happens at the tail end of the year, or is it in the fall as well?
They start planning it in the tail end of the year, or it always happens the last 3 weeks of school. That's the kind of the plan right now. It may evolve into something different over time, but as of right now, it's the last 2 or 3 weeks of the school year. Go out. So.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
So Tara Bennett, ICP students.
Yeah, or internship students too. I would ICP and or internships students. And I can mention to her when I see her, maybe this week, maybe I might see her tomorrow. I'll mention to her that you might be reaching out to her about that as well.
Okay, if you want to, and then I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but it'll be next week.
Just tell her in the next week or so you might be reaching out, just to prep her and talk the lingo she knows. So in case your lingo doesn't match her lingo, she knows what she's anticipating your email.
Yes. Sounds good.
And that would be for marketing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just marketing some of the things and finding ways to connect them.
Yeah, social media or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, that's what, those are the immediate things that I'm interested in for strategic. Not that there aren't other things that we won't be visiting too, because they're on the list. Those are top of the mind.
We're boat race.
Yep.
So, I know that the Lions Club has their circus on the 17th and 18th of July. That's a Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
So my thought was to look at the next week. I don't like the weekend. I don't think that, I know that it's been mentioned by a couple of departments, like why not do it on the weekend? I just feel like people are gone.
In the July, it's tough.
During the holiday.
Plus getting staff, getting your staff to, they come after hours.
Right.
On the regular work night, but.
Exactly, but, and they get credit, but I
Right,
agree with that.
right.
It's tougher on me.
Right.
And, people are leaving for breaks, small and large, so, I think frankly, like the Tuesday or the Thursday of the next week, which would be like the 22nd or the 24th. Could be the Wednesday too, but sometime that next week, I think. Dan seemed to think that that was getting later and that's when people start taking their vacations. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that.
Be back from so. I think it was too early this last summer. I
Oh,
was kind of away.
I know.
It's like, as of right now, we don't make any July plans, but.
I don't like early in the month because it bumps up against July 4th and the people
Right.
are away.
Yes, and people are traveling.
Right, and then after July 4th, and we have it, I think, on the 10th or something. It
Yeah,
just
the
wasn't
fourth is on a
enough time.
Friday, so a lot of people go away that whole week, and a lot of people go away the fourth and take that following week off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I
it's
think they
just
start
time to
leaving
prepare
it.
after the 4th for it, if it's gonna be that soon. which
I
I
think-
is the
I think that's a good week.
Yep.
I think that's a good week.
So I'm gonna talk to Tara and to Dan because we have to make sure that the beach, we're all set for the beach. Second. I'm just gonna say anytime between 22nd. I don't like the Monday or the Friday because it's too close to the weekend and people.
Still, people take long weekends or something.
No, well,
There
if we
was
go
that
to
one
the,
year.
yeah, if we do rain date, I would
Squeezed it
say that the rain date would be maybe the next week, I guess. No, we need to go in a rain date. I think 1 year,
2 years ago. That
yeah,
wasn't last year's year
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Thunderstorm now.
Oh, right.
And then there was the year we squeezed it in.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, we were watching them roll in as we were running races.
Yeah.
We got it done in under an hour, I think, that year.
Yeah.
last year was quick too, but that year was the record.
Yeah.
That was the year before. We had the rain.
Yeah,
It was coming.
it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we cleaned up and as we were all getting in the car, it downpoured.
Yeah, exactly.
So we also have to, last time we had talked about doing it, we were gonna do it, we originally had talked about February for like the boat class, but, or whatever we were calling it, but we decided that maybe May sounded more realistic.
Mhm.
Yep.
So we have to talk about how we wanna do that. Are we roping in the friends for helping us with that?
Grayson was on board.
Excellent.
For coming to support and work on that, and I told him, because last time we commented that May, we would have a session on like tips and tricks on how to build your boat.
Yep.
And get cardboard and things like that, and then June would be, we would have a session to start build boats. And then July would be like right before the race, like the week before, final builds. Review the rules, you don't duct tape and or spray paint the whole thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of review.
Well, so we talk about that in May and then we talk.
Yes, and then and we can actually, maybe see what they're building, or they send us pictures of what they've started, or, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
That at least is what we had reviewed last time, and I said Grayson was on board. We actually got a new refrigerator, and he was trying really hard to get the cardboard for that. Problem was that our refrigerator didn't have cardboard, so he
Oh,
didn't get any. He was trying.
I'm also happy to either like co-lead or lead the main meeting, just to like be the organizer, make sure we're getting folks there and also to corral and immediacy. So just to at least be a guide there, and then it'll be nice because then we can have the rules too. We can say, here's what it is. This is what we did last year.
Yes.
Nothing special, nothing new.
So question about, both sides, because typically he does the one person,
Yes,
so.
but he could talk about
Okay,
the bigger
this
ones.
is my question is, yeah, we
He
need,
has done multiple person boats in the past. But he doesn't have to be the only expert there either. I mean, I think you'd have some really good insight on that as well.
Going for the concrete boat award, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I'm happy to, and then we can,
yeah,
that's part of the fun. We can,
Right.
ironically, we can also pull in some local engineers.
Right,
Like have them come sit down and talk about it. So if we want to get geeky, we can. If we want to have a construction folks talk about what they do, we'll do that too. So absolutely.
okay.
Everybody knows the big Big batch of cardboard over the corner.
I was literally looking at it going, I wonder.
Yeah, so that was, there was stuff under the stairs and I had to consolidate. And so I busted those all down today. And yeah, got them nice and neat. Some of that is for book sale, when the things come in, and then I march it over to the.
It's all right, I know you're hoarding.
You know, and I wonder if we were to hit up a local business like one of the appliance stores around us and ask them to save their cardboard. We had like a one day, we went and picked it up and people could come and get some if they
Oh, that's a
wanted it
great
and
idea.
make that like, maybe one of those sessions is hey, you can bring cardboard home with you. You can't store it here, but you can pick it up at the meeting and take it home with you and you know, and we can help to support some of that side of it for those who struggle with that side of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You know, Franks and Milford may be willing to, you know,
Yeah.
support that.
Yeah,
Frankly, we're gonna need some here because we're gonna use some library boats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, it's 25.
Mhm.
How do we dispose of the cardboard after the race?
Well, yeah,
Dan's dumpster?
yeah. Usually the dumpster, and it's, oh, well, the problem with cardboard is it's so wet and it's so flippin',
Yeah.
so heavy. I
we
said,
usually make a pile in the corner and Dan
yeah,
puts it all in the dumpster.
yeah,
Damn, man.
it's hard to drag that stuff up off the beach.
We finally gotten to the point that we help, but we make the participants do it, but, you know, there's plenty of people that'll lend a hand when they're dragging their stuff out, but we make them go, you know, basically bring it right over to the dumpster or to the pile that we've set aside.
Yeah.
So at what point do we, just from a library scheduling thing, do we need to pick dates for our May event and our,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
talking May, June, July, right?
right,
Yes.
I would think we wanna get that figured out within the next month or so.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, by,
So say by the end of February,
Yeah,
we
by
have
the
a
end of
date
May.
for May.
Yep.
Okay.
it's possible. Yeah, that's the one wild card. Because it could be end of April, it could be sometime in May, so that's the question is. I would think if you wanna do it in May, maybe,
Towards the end.
yeah, third week, fourth
Yeah.
week, maybe,
Okay, yeah,
that's okay.
Yep.
I mean, the only other thing I'm thinking is, if you wanted to push it to like early April or something, you get a head start on it, you could do early April.
no, I think
Yeah.
we can just stick with May.
Yeah.
Tail end.
I think April's gonna be too.
Worst case is, if they're doing the paving, maybe we find someplace else that we can do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you can use the, right, you can use the lunchroom.
yeah, so that's worst case scenario,
That's easy.
yeah,
Which I'd say end of February.
okay, all right.
All right, so we're running into the other meetings. So topics not anticipated. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about? You usually have something, so.
Wait, I'm trying to think, you and I went back, but no, I guess we already,
just-
that was about the
Yeah,
committee,
we
okay,
adjust
never mind.
that.
I'm like, there was something you and I talked about.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, so next meeting. Bad. Second week,
I'm
Thursday would be the 13th.
gone the 11th through the 19th, but don't hold it up for me.
The 20th is school vacation week.
Yeah, that's probably tough.
And yeah, I've got multiple gymnastics competitions that week, so that's gonna be a rough week for me. We could do the first week in February, the 6th. It's an option.
I'm flexible on those two. The school vacation will be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 6th is fine with me if it works for everybody.
All right, we'll do that 6 p.m.
Probably not gonna be able to attend any in-person on Thursday. Yeah, I'm teaching at BU Thursday at 5. So I join remotely and then I'll have to, there's a giant face. Like, that's the part that I don't like, is like, I don't mind joining remotely, but I know like, in, like, if I'm the only one, that like, if I say anything, it's, yeah.
Okay, so the-
But it's important and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll try to join remotely, yeah, so that's.
Right,
Six at six.
6 and
6 and 6. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Do we have a second? Be all in favor?
Aye.
7:21. Let's stop recording. Recording.
That's the longest